So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us this great ni'mah in this life, to be able to ponder over the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to live our life according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. Both surahs were revealed in Mecca, except some exceptions that some of the ulama they talked about, but in general, the surahs were revealed in Mecca. Surah Maryam, as we see from the title of it, refers to Maryam, alayhi salam, the mother of Isa, son of Mary, Maryam. And surah talks about Maryam, alayhi salam, and Zakaria and Yahya, and some of the messengers of Allah, but the main story there is the story of Isa alayhi salam and his mother. And it was said it was revealed because the Jews at the time of the Prophet alayhi salam, when they talked in an evil way about Isa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the surah to defend his messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Isa alayhi salam and his mother. And to make the matter clear and the truth should be there for everybody to know. Because the two extremes about Isa alayhi salam, one extreme that they took him out of the status of being a human being, a messenger of Allah, and a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the best level that a human being can achieve. They took him from that status thinking that this is out of being virtue or so. They claim that he has some divine nature to him. And the other extreme, those who claim that Isa alayhi salam is not a prophet and he is the son of adultery and so on, which is another extreme. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the surah for the truth to prevail, to be clear, and that's why the deen of Islam, the Quran, is the thing that gave the victory, the truth about Isa alayhi salam. Nobody stood up for Isa alayhi salam like the Quran and the Prophet alayhi salam. That's why he is a messenger of Islam. He is a messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the messengers of Allah, they are brothers, they came with the same message. The surah, there's one theme in it that you would see, if it's correct to say that, it's the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, since it's mentioned so many times in the surah. The name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ar-Rahman, is mentioned 12 times in the surah, that it's not the same in any other surah in the Quran. It's from the first, after Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ayn, Sad, ذِكْرُ رَحْمَةِ رَبِّكَ عَبْدَهُ Zakaria. Ar-Rahman is mentioned 12 times, the Rahmah is mentioned many times. So from the beginning of the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on his slave, Zakaria alayhi salam. The rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is bestowed mainly on his awliya, on the people of righteousness, the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who are obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and of course the chief of them are the messengers of Allah. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bestow his mercy on them in this life, giving them victory and steadfastness and means of goodness and joy in this life when they are obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also in the hereafter when they receive the high level of honor when they enter the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is something that we would see when we ponder over what is mentioned in the surah from Zakaria, when he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ نِدَاءً خَفِيًّا. He was old in age and his wife is barren, she cannot give birth. And he made dua nida'an khafiyyan, right? It's a secret call. And as the ulama they say, there's some things that if a person has the secret with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially that he's a righteous person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful. Like the case of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, when he asked the Prophet ﷺ to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his mother to be guided. Things like this. If a person wants means of guidance to his parents, for example, right, or for his children, this type of relationship, because it has so much mercy in it, the person has so much concern towards his parents, towards his offspring. The dua here, when it's done in a sincere manner. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful. Something that the person will have a secret with him, between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody knows anything about it. Sincerely asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all means of goodness. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted his dua, and Yahya alayhi salam became one of the messengers of Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered him to take al-kitab bi-quwwah, to take the book with quwwah, with strength. The book of Allah is not to be taken loosely, is not to be followed whenever there is time or wealth or means of goodness. No, this is to be taken with strength and power, so that the person is steadfast on the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that's the purpose of our life. And then the story of Maryam alayhi salam, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed His favor upon her when He would provide for her with means of miracles, the fruits and in the different times of the years and so on. And then the miracle that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested the human beings with, which is the birth of Isa alayhi salam. And the story and the details of it, and how it was a difficult thing for her when she is never married, and she will come to her tribe and people with a child in her hand, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aided her. This is the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When she's obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and she's definitely innocent, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aided her by when He said to her subhanahu wa ta'ala, فأتت به قومها تحمله قالوا يا مريم لقد جئت شيئا فريا يا أخت هارون ما كان أبوك امرأ سوء وما كانت أمك بغيا فأشارت إليه قالوا كيف نكلم من كان في المهد صبيا. She was ordered to not to say anything. فقولي إني نذرت للرحمن صوما فلن أكلم اليوم إنسيا. Say whenever they ask you that I had vowed to Ar-Rahman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful, fasting. They used to fast to abstain from speaking. This was shara, or a religion for those who are before us, right? It's abrogated by the message of the Prophet ﷺ, that our fasting is, as we know, to abstain from food and drink and sexual desires in the days from Fajr to Maghrib. Is it permissible for a person to abstain from speaking? No, it's not permissible, because the message of the Prophet ﷺ cancels all the rulings before. So she was ordered to say that. And then when they asked her, when she has her son with her, فَأَشَارَتْ إِلَيْهِ, she pointed at him. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Isa alayhi salam to speak, as they say, speak in the cradle, when he was just born. What is the first word that he said? قَالَ إِنِّي عَبْدُ اللَّهِ. He said, indeed I am a slave of Allah. أَتَانِيَ الْكِتَابَ وَجَعَلَنِي نَبِيًّا. He gave me the book and He would make me a prophet. وَجَعَلَنِي مُبَارَكًا أَيْنَمَا كُنْتَ. And He would make me blessed no matter where I am, wherever I am. وَجَعَلَنِي مُبَارَكًا أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُ وَأَوْصَانِي بِالصَّلَاةِ وَالزَّكَاةِ مَا دُمْتُ حَيًّا. And He ordered me to establish the salah and to pay the zakah as long as I am alive. وَبَرًّا بِوَالِدَتِي, and righteous to my mother. وَلَمْ يَجْعَلْنِي جَبَّارًا شَقِيًّا. وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَيَّ يَوْمَ وُلِدْتُ وَيَوْمَ أَمُوتُ وَيَوْمَ أُبْعَثُ حَيًّا. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ذَلِكَ عِيسَى بْنُ مَرْيَمَ قَوْلَ الْحَقِّ الَّذِي فِيهِ يَمْتَرُونَ. This is Isa ibn Maryam, the speech of the truth. This is the truth about Isa alayhi salam, that people are different. Different because of what? Because of the wahy? No. Usually people are different from one another because of desires, because of anything other than the wahy. The wahy is the thing that brings people together. Right? If you find people having disputes, that means there's a problem in them following the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why this deen brings people together. The people bring them together on the truth. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. The disputes and the arguments and all kinds of evil things that happens as a result of not following the wahy. Whether not following the wahy literally, or they know the wahy, but they turn away from its meanings. Or they have envy or hatred towards one another, which is against the wahy, against the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But definitely the people on the truth, even if they have some differences, but their hearts are united together. And they have this goodness together. Why? Because they follow the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran and the way of the Prophet alayhi salatu. And then the mention of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his dialogue with his father. Great benefits and matters of tarbiyah for a person to learn. And again, it's the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on those who follow His orders. And how Ibrahim alayhi salam, with all means of love in his heart towards his father, right? And his father is a disbeliever, and even making statues and images for the people to worship besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And still Ibrahim alayhi salam, in the context of da'wah, he's saying, Ya abati, oh my father, right? Such a beautiful word that has great meanings to it. He's not just telling him information, he's calling him with a very special call between a son and his father, oh my father. The same thing the messengers, they would say to their people, right? The people are disbelievers, but they're in the context of da'wah, right? So they would say, Ya qawmi, O my people. That means I have more concern towards you than anyone else. I want all means of goodness for you. When you say, Oh my father, do you want harm for your father? Definitely not. That's against the nature how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us with. So that means the words that comes after that, it's more likely to be heard of, to be listened, for the person to be affected by these words. And this is important, of course, for those who call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and convincing his father. And at the end, he would say to his father that I would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your forgiveness, but then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade him that if a person dies in the state of kufr or disbelief, it is not permissible for the believers to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for mercy for them. Only in their life to ask for their guidance. Once they die, the matter is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not permissible for the believers to ask for rahmah for them. Then after that, just to be brief, it talked about the generations, those who come after the messengers. Because the ayah talked about Ibrahim alayhi salam, and Musa, and Ismail, and Idris, right? Messengers of Allah. And then after that, the warning for the generations that come after those who are righteous. Because the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always with those who are righteous. فَخَلَفَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ فَسَوْفَ يَلْقَوْنَ غَيًّا. فَخَلَفَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ, that means came after them, khalf, generations, later generations came after them. What did they do? They abandoned the salah. They followed their shahawat and their desires. فَسَوْفَ يَلْقَوْنَ غَيًّا, they will face and meet غَيًّا, a place in the hellfire, punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's for them and also for this ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. We had the best generation ever brought to mankind. The generation of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. There was no generation better than that generation. And then what happens to the generations that came after? How was our generation compared to their generation? This ayah and the like of it, would it be applied on us? And this is a benefit that we on a personal level, we have to ponder over. We don't want to be among those later generations, those who abandoned the salah and they followed their desires and not to follow the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, it's the same sunnah of Allah. The same way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is repeated from one generation, from one nation to the other. And that's what also the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِنَّمَا جُعِلَ عَافِيَةُ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ فِي أَوَّلِهَا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the strength to this ummah in the beginning of it. And there will be bala and fitan, trials and fitan and so on, that the later part of the ummah would face. But then the Prophet ﷺ did not leave us like this. He said, when he said this statement, that the later part of the ummah will face bala wa fitan wa umur tunkiruna, trials and calamities and things that you would tunkirunaha, that you would see clearly it's against the way of the Prophet ﷺ. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, فَمَنْ أَحَبَّ أَنْ يُزَحْزَحَ أَوْ مَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يُزَحْزَحَ عَنِ النَّارِ وَيَدْخُلَ الْجَنَّةِ, whoever wants to be pushed away from the hellfire and to enter Jannah. And this statement specifically mentioned like this because when you are living at times of fitan and trials and calamities, that means the hellfire is very close to the people because they are being deviated. So the Prophet ﷺ says, whoever wants to be pushed away from the hellfire, which is more likely for people to fall in that state, then what should he do? فَلْتَأْتِهِ مَنِيَّتُهُ وَهُوَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَلْيَأْتِ إِلَى النَّاسِ مَا يُحِبُّ أَنْ يُؤْتَى إِلَيْهِ. Then let that person that wants to be saved from the hellfire, let him die on the state of believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the last day, the importance of matters of iman. And the second thing is, and to deal with others in the same way that he would love for them to deal with him. And the rest of the hadith. So the point is, this is with the later generations. And then as the beginning of the surah talked about awliyaullah, the righteous people, the messengers of Allah, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed His favor upon them, the later part of the surah talks about the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the believers and the righteous ones in the hereafter. It's a continuous thing, never separated. We might be trapped in the life that we live in, but it's a continuous journey, and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be there for them in this life and in the hereafter. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that in the Quran, and the people of belief and the people of disbelief, and how that the hellfire, وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا, every person will pass on top of the hellfire. An ayah that brought so much fear in the hearts of the early generations of Islam. وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا, none of you, unless he would pass on it, meaning the hellfire. ثم ننجي الذين اتقوا ونذر الظالمين فيها جثيا. Then we will save those of taqwa, and we would leave in it, meaning the hellfire, those, the disbelievers, the transgressors, and so on. And the end also of the surah talks about those who claim that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a son. وَقَالُوا اتَّخَذَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَلَدًا لَقَدْ جِئْتُمْ شَيْئًا إِدًّا. They said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ar-Rahman, the most merciful, He would have a son. You brought something so evil and so major. تكاد السماوات يتفطرن منه وتنشق الأرض وتخر الجبال هدا أن دعوا للرحمن ولدا. This is not a very easy statement. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the skies, the heavens, will almost crumble, and the earth will be split asunder, and the mountains will be destroyed. For what reason? That they claim that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a son. وَمَا يَنْبَغِي لِلرَّحْمَنِ أَن يَتَّخِذَ وَلَدًا. That it's not befitting for Ar-Rahman that he would have a son. إِن كُلُّ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ إِلَّا آتِ الرَّحْمَنِ عَبْدًا. There is no one in the heavens or in the earth unless they will come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abda, slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the surah ends with how many of the nations before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them as a result of their disbelief. هل تحس منهم من أحد أو تسمع له ركزا. Do you feel any of them, these powerful nations before, what happened to them? Do you feel anything about them? Or you even hear a footstep for them? They're gone, finished. They used to fill the whole earth with sound and power and all kinds of might, but they're all now under the ground. They are in need of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if they died in the state of disbelief, nothing will benefit them whatsoever. Then very briefly, Surah Taha, which is right after Surah Maryam, was revealed also after the Surah of Maryam. Taha, by the way, there's a misconception that many people think that Taha is one of the names of the Prophet ﷺ. There is no authentic hadith whatsoever that talks about this. Right? This is a very aqwal shadh, as they say. Qawlun shadh means it's a very, not even a weak opinion, some narrations that has no basis or authenticity whatsoever, not narrations from the Prophet ﷺ, from some individuals that has no basis to it. It's just maybe they said that because the ayah after that says مَا أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ لِتَشْقَى. We did not brought down the Qur'an to you لِتَشْقَى, to be ruined or to be perished. So they thought that Taha is the name of the Prophet ﷺ. The same thing with Yasin, by the way. It's not from the names of the Prophet ﷺ, and the narration that says that the names of the Prophet ﷺ are such and such, and in it, Taha and Yasin, this is definitely not an authentic narration. So Taha is one of the letters that the Quran or some of the surahs of the Quran starts with. Yes, some explained or try to explain these letters. Allah knows best what is it. So when they say the first letter refers to the Prophet ﷺ, and the second letter also refers to another quality of the Prophet ﷺ, you would find that in the books of tafsir. There is nothing wrong with a person to ponder over these great meanings. There's no contradictions, but Allah knows best exactly what is the hikmah or the wisdom behind this. But definitely these are the letters that the surahs are made from. The challenge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to all mankind to bring the like of the Quran when it's made from the same letters that they understand and they know. The surah is talking about the Prophet ﷺ and the messengers of Allah, and the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that this is a source of goodness and happiness, not a source of misery for people. Why is that mentioned? If someone with no knowledge whatsoever, if he looks at the life of the Prophet ﷺ, especially when the surah was revealed in Mecca, someone looking from far away, they would say that this is a life of misery, right? Suffering and killing and torturing and abuse and all kinds of things, right? But this is for the people that's of no understanding whatsoever. And all of that was because of the Quran revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, calling people to that truth. Prophet ﷺ was the mean for them to be saved from the hellfire. So the Quran is not to make the lives of people miserable, it's to make their life the best life in this life and in the hereafter if they will follow it. And even if at times when the people are weak and oppressed, the believers, those who follow the Quran is not a misery for them. The Quran is to save them and to elevate their levels. If they would just ponder over what's coming ahead. Plus, it's by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the believers, in the worst times ever for them physically, they receive from the tranquility and the peace and the mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they would never give up whatsoever the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for anything materialistic in this life. Right? And this is the mercy of Allah, that He made it easy for the believers. So that's why the believers should be steadfast and should never look into the Quran as وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ a burden. This is a mercy from Allah. And when people think this is halal, this is haram, many people, they don't want to follow the truth. Because of that, it's not because of the deen of Islam, it's because of the people that made their life miserable when they turned away from the orders of Allah. Otherwise, if they all followed the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will be all means of ease and goodness in this life and in the hereafter. The stories mentioned in the surah, the story of Musa alayhi salam in some details, and the story of As-Samiri, something also to be pondered over, and the steadfastness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted from the believers, showing them the story to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam and to the ummah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and that those who would turn away from the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. Whoever turns away from my dhikr, from the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the wahy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَإِنَّ لَهُ, indeed he will have مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. مَعِيشَةً ضَنْك, life that is dunk, life that is miserable in all aspects and all levels. To make sure that the matter in the beginning of the surah is clear, that the Quran is to make your life good. If you turn away from the Quran, you will have a life of misery, right? And definitely if a person do not follow the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this life is a life of deception. If he's given some times of joy, this is all temporary. Again, it's like intoxications. But before that, to show that, to sum up the level or the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to all human beings since the time of Adam alayhi salam, the matter is not complicated, it's not too much philosophy, it's a very simple thing, which is follow the truth. And that's it. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before that mentioned about Adam alayhi salam, and every time the mention of Adam alayhi salam and what was given to Adam alayhi salam, it's the same thing from one messenger to the other from the very beginning. As he said subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَمَنِ اتَّبَعَ هُدَايَ فَلَا يَضِلُّ وَلَا يَشْقَى قُلْنَا اهْبِطَا مِنْهَا جَمِيعًا بَعْضُكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ عَدُوٌّ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Adam alayhi salam and his wife to go down from it, from the Jannah to be on the earth. بَعْضُكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ عَدُوٌّ, you will be enemies to one another. That's what life is, right? So what do? Are we going to make this overall for every single human being peace on earth? It would never happen. This is the sunnah of Allah. This is the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth. So whoever wants to waste his life to think of some ideal false lies, then they can follow that. It sounds good, it sounds nice, but this is the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created earth. But what is the thing that we need to focus on? فَمَنِ اتَّبَعَ هُدَيَ. This is the message to Adam and his offsprings. Whoever follow my guidance, فَلَا يَضِلُّ وَلَا يَشْقَى. He would never be deviated, he would never be يَشْقَى, the same one as mentioned in the beginning of the surah, مَا أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ لِتَشْقَى. He would never be miserable, he would never be perished. Whoever follows what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals. So that's why when Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah, he said, وَجَدْتُ الْأَمْرَ الْاتِّبَاعِ. He said this. He said, I found that the matter, this religion, he said just one word, al-ittiba', follow. Follow what? Follow the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the revelation from Allah, the Quran, the Sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Then after that, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى. Whoever turns away from my dhikr, from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the wahy, he will have a miserable life, and he will be resurrected in the day of judgment blind. أعمى. قال رب لما حشرتني أعمى وقد كنت بصيرا. He would say, my Rabb, my Lord, why would you gather me in this day أعمى, blind, when I used to be بصيرا, used to see in the life of the dunya. قال كذلك أتتك آياتنا فنسيتها وكذلك اليوم تنسى. The جزاء من جنس العمل, the reward or the punishment is given from the same sort of deed that the person used to do in this life. The ayah says, this is the same way that our ayat, the verses of the Quran, the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was given to you and you forgot it. You turned away from it, and the same way then you will be forgotten on this day. Meaning, that means he will face the punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He becomes blind when he thought that he can see in this life, which means what? Who's the real blind in this life? Is the one that does not follow the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People can see sharp, but if they don't see through the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what is right and what is wrong, they are blind, they are in total darkness, they are faced with all means of fatal things around them, and they are not able to see it, which is mentioned many times in the Quran, the darkness and the light. The light is the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to follow it, and as it's mentioned before, we don't have a self light that comes from ourselves to see what is right and what is wrong. And this is the deception of the human beings. Because when they're given aql and means of understanding, they think they know everything. They know what is right and what is wrong. That's why you would never sit with anyone unless you would say, yeah, this is right, that's wrong, makes sense, this and that, and I think this and I believe this. And this is the misery of the human beings. They cannot have this within their own selves. If we turn all the lights and it's night time, we can't even go outside of the masjid unless we have to find some external light. This is how weak and deficient is the human being. So the same way we are in need of the sun as an external light, and the light for us to see what we can see in front of us. Our eyes does not radiate lights from it. The same way we need external guidance, so that we are guided to know what is right and what is wrong. And that's why human beings will always be enemies to one another, because they don't follow the wahy and the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the light. They would see through the wahy what is right and what is wrong. So the message of the surah and the surah before and the whole entire Quran, with all of these stories and all the information and all the rulings, is to follow the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise it's misery in this life and in the hereafter. And many of course benefits to the Prophet ﷺ and to the Ummah not to extend our eyes to the beauty of this life. وَلَا تَمُدَّنَّ عَيْنَيْكَ إِلَى مَا مَتَّعْنَا بِهِ أَزْوَاجًا مِّنْهُمْ زَهْرَةَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا لِنَفْتِنَهُمْ فِيهِ. Do not make your eyes go beyond to see those who are in some form of luxury and wealth and so on in this life. زَهْرَةَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيا, it's like the flower of this life, the beauty, is the adornment. لِنَفْتِنَهُمْ فِيهِ, so that we test them through this. Whenever we are given any means of goodness in this life, wealth, health, whatever, this is a test. This is not a ni'mah, again, as we said before, this is not a ni'mah in itself. It's only a ni'mah when it's used in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If it's not used in the obedience of Allah and to follow the truth, it's a source of misery in this life and in the hereafter. So once the Muslim, he sees things in the right way, he would know how to deal with his wealth and his health. If he has it, he's grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he would use it the right way, and he know that this is a test from Allah, how he's going to use it for the sake of Allah. If he doesn't have it, he's patient, he's pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knows that Allah relieved him from some responsibilities on him, and he still would know how to act according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from him. And the goal is to be followers, to follow the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam.